October 1st was a significant day. Two things happened to the constituents of my state. The first we talk a lot about here, and that is basically the shutdown of government, the failure to pass a continuing resolution that would keep the doors of government open for the thousands and thousands of Americans and North Dakotans who depend on government services. Had a horrible impact, continues to have a horrible impact, continues to have consequences that people didn't really foresee. But the second thing that happened that hasn't gotten a lot of attention is the expiration of a long-term farm bill. You know, we had been negotiating, this body in a large bipartisan vote was able to accommodate the concerns, come together, negotiate, come up with a package that had real reform, eliminated direct payments, did real reform in the SNAP program, streamlined conservation programs, and basically offered $25 billion of debt relief to the country. Great package, sent it over to the House, waited for the House to pass their farm bill. Initially couldn't pass a farm bill, then they decided to divide the farm bill, pass part of the farm bill, pass the other part of the farm bill with nutrition, now had a vote to bring them back together, and we're patiently waiting the appointment of a conference committee. Mr. President, the passage of the farm bill has never been a partisan issue. In fact, it's a regional issue. Things that are good for North Dakota may not be good for Mr. President's state, Delaware, but we all work together and we all compromise and we all come together. This past weekend, South Dakota, southwestern North Dakota were hit with a terrible snowstorm. Over 2 days, that region was blanketed anywhere from 2 to 7 feet of snow and contained winds over 70 miles an hour. Because of the early storm, tens of thousands of cattle died because they were suffocated, mired, and drowned in stock dams and dropped from exhaustion. The pictures and the stories are devastating. This image is one that's all too common after the recent blizzard in the Dakotas. These cattle that died over the weekend near Hettinger, North Dakota, were owned by the Chrisman family. Like many North Dakota ranchers, this hard-working family lost many cows and calves during this surprise fall storm. What people may not understand about the cattle industry is you might think one cow is like the next cow. You can just replace them. These herds are the product of years and years of selective breeding, years and years of working to improve the quality of their herd and to meet different specifications in the market. They're more than cows. They contain an intellectual property component that is not easily replaced. Now, this is where the dysfunction, the crisis of the dysfunction that is Washington, D.C., meets natural disaster. When livestock die from a natural disaster, farmers report the number of cattle that died to the Farm Service Agency, FSA. However, because the doors are closed on the federal government, North Dakota ranchers, South Dakota ranchers, anyone who is experiencing livestock losses have no place to report those losses. And even worse, they have no one at USDA to consult with about the information they need to collect to eventually report their claims. This is critical information. If farmers aren't collecting the information that they need to make disaster claims in the future, the safety nets that were put in place to provide some support to these hardworking ranchers may be denied simply because of a paperwork error. Unfortunately, this is an avoidable problem. Like so many in recent years, it's the product of congressional dysfunction. Because we haven't passed a new farm bill, the livestock program that helps ranchers withstand losses to livestock herds due to extreme weather events, the Livestock Indemnity Program, well, that's expired. And the Emergency Assistance for Livestock and Honeybee Producers Program, which is in the yet stalled Farm Bill, which helps producers stay in business after they experience significant losses because of natural disasters, isn't available to the ranchers and the beekeepers who were hit the hardest by the storm. Until Congress passes a farm bill, livestock producers are in danger of losing their business, and they will not be eligible for support. These ranchers and the Farm Bill are just more collateral damage from the government shutdown. Because we're debating whether to fund the federal government or not, Congress isn't able to work on a Farm Bill. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the appointment of conferees. We were told, the chairwoman, I think she intends to make a floor speech about the Farm Bill yet today. The chairwoman has been working very hard to encourage the collection of information and to encourage the appointment of conference committee and get focused on this issue. Unfortunately, it's not happening until next week, if it even happens then. In addition, the lack of assistance for ranchers in the aftermath of this devastating storm, the shutdown is hurting farmers and agricultural industries, which is a key piece of North Dakota's economy. Here are some additional examples of where the shutdown is hurting our farmers. Frequently, because farmers who use FSA loans have a joint obligation with FSA, when they receive their checks, when they sell their products, the checks are frequently made out to both the Farm Service Agency and the farmer themselves. Consequently, you can't cash the check unless you can get an endorsement from the Farm Service Agency. Guess what? They go to knock on the door and no one's there to co-sign their check. So that money in their hand that they need to make the investments for next year, that they need to pay the person who maybe supplies the feed, that they need to pay the fuel bill, that money's not available to them, even though they've earned it and they've paid and they've sold their products. So the government shutdown prevents FSA from cashing these checks and from signing these checks. This is money that the farmers have earned and they deserve, and denying them their income is outrageous. What's worth, farmers and ranchers enrolled in the loan programs are new and beginning farmers, farmers who are just starting out. A great thing that's happening in the Dakotas and all across farm country as we look at the increasing commodity prices and we look at a farm program that for the last 5 years has been stable and provided real risk management, our farmers are getting younger and younger. The people who are going to feed the world and continue to develop our rural areas are younger and younger. They cannot withstand cash flow problems. They cannot withstand this loss. Another impact of the shutdown. Agricultural reports from the National Agricultural Statistics Service aren't available to farmers. These reports are crucial resources that farmers need to make decisions, such as how to price crops, which commodities to grow, and when to sell those commodities, and the reports enable farmers to track cattle auction prices. Not only has NASS stopped putting out new reports about demand and supply, export and prices, but all websites with past information have been taken down because of the government shutdown. Farmers aren't receiving assistance from farm programs. The Department of Agriculture local farm service offices have been shut down because of the shutdown, and as a result, farmers can't apply for new loans, sign up for acreage for farm programs, or receive government checks for the programs they're already enrolled in. Devastating to so many of our people living on fixed incomes in North Dakota who have engaged and basically put their land into the Conservation Reserve Program is Conservation Reserve checks are not being issued. That has a huge impact, particularly on those ranchers and those landowners who use CRP payments to supplement their Social Security. The list goes on, and as time continues, this list will only get longer and longer. And I understand the strategy, perhaps, in the House is to, whatever is on the headline of the day, whatever becomes the issue of the day, we'll just simply write a little mini CR to take care of that and say, see, we're dealing with that issue. But we know it's only a slice. It's only a slice. It doesn't take care of those small businesses who have applied for small business loans and maybe got this close to being able to realize their dream and now have it increased. It doesn't deal with the critical functions of government in its entirety. Instead, it just picks and chooses the winners and losers. And let me tell you, these ranchers who have experienced this loss, they're the losers under this system. It is time for this organization and this Congress to begin and to do the responsible thing. which is open government up, fund all of government, and start telling the American people that their interest is paramount. Start telling farmers and ranchers in the Dakotas who have experienced this tremendous loss that we care about their loss, that these programs have to work for them, and we have to do everything that we can to make sure that America is working again. I want to close with one thought. In the Great Recession, one place where we've experienced a tremendous amount of opportunity and support has been in agriculture. Those states that had a good agricultural base had some of the lowest unemployment numbers in the country. 16 million jobs depend on agriculture in this country. And all they ask for in return is a little bit of help, a little bit of a safety net for guaranteeing a food supply in this country. But we can't seem to even deliver that obligation. We can't seem to deliver that promise. We have got to tell the American people that their interest is ahead of any petty or partisan interest in this body and in this Congress. We have got to get the Congress back working for the American people, particularly for the hard-hit ranchers and farmers of southwestern North Dakota and of West River, South Dakota.